Puffy, you stupid ass nigga. I told you stop fucking with R. Kelly. I said grab them in the pussy. Don't kidnap the pussy. They raided your shit. I got a courtesy call when they raided my house. You really fucked up, my nigga. Can I get a copy of the Meek Mill sex tape? Please, nigga.
Yo, sometimes life calls for a change. Not fake, just different. It'll show you a different way. And right now, I'm on to my different way. I can promise you this is the same Spann, but the reporting is over. I'd like to welcome you to the Mr. Spann official podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? What's going on, y'all? It's the episode number 41 of the Mr. Spann official podcast. I am your host, Mr. Spann, and it has been a couple weeks since the last time I talked to y'all. And yo, see what had happened was life was starting to do its thing, man. It started, doing its motherfucking thing. And, every now and again, you got to tend to what life is pulling you into doing. And, every now and again, sometimes I can't get on this mic as often as I would like, right? So there's been a lot of shit happening since the last time I talked to y'all. Some of that we're going to actually talk about tonight. But yeah, man, like I didn't anticipate being off for 2 weeks, man. I mean, I was just bragging about being on 3 times in 1 week. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, my apologies for life lifing. Right. I mean, I don't necessarily have control over it, but still, I would like to get on this microphone a little bit more often than I had in the last couple of weeks. Right. But yo, man, like I said, there's been a few things that happened. First things first, though. First things first. There's this thing I want to address before I actually just kind of get into the show and everything else. Right. So a few episodes back, I spoke about the uncommitted vote here in the Michigan presidential primary, right? And I talked about it in a way in which, upon further reflection, I feel as though I may have minimized some of the concerns of the Arab community here in Southeast Michigan, more importantly, right? And so the reason why I'm saying it is like, I am of the belief, right, that this coming election is an existential sort of thing, right? Like what we know America to be and how it functions. I know a lot of people would be like, yeah, nigga, we could probably just throw this whole fucking program away. I think that like what could come after that, considering what we had before us, I don't know if people are really ready for that, right? I really don't think that people are ready for that. I think people say that shit a whole lot. I don't know if they're necessarily ready for that, right? But in that vein, when I spoke about the uncommitted vote, when they were trying to get the Biden administration's attention in order to get the Palestinian plight heard at the White House level, to get the attention for them to like do something in relation to how the United States, kind of supports Israel in the operations and how they're going about that particular quote unquote war. Cause it seems to be pretty fucking one-sided, especially with the women and children dying on one side and, it's mostly soldiers on the other. Right. And I told this story about like the worst ass whooping I ever got. Right. And like I told it, in a way where I thought was kind of humorous, but at the same time is like, I was making the point that like, yo, it could always be worse. And what I did not consider at the time when I was on the microphone that night, what I did not consider, and I should have, was that like, yo, those folks, some of them are coming from places where it absolutely is worse than what we have here. And so the idea of someone like a Donald Trump becoming president again, although we would look at that as like it's an existential threat, and like he represents something that I don't think any of the people in the Muslim community would actually want in a leader. I think that like it was a bit belittling to look at those folks and say, well, they don't know any better, right? And that was an oversight on my part. Right, because I've come to an understanding in the sense that like some of the places where their family have immigrated from have dealt with much worse than Donald Trump, right? And so that's why the threat of a Donald Trump coming into power doesn't necessarily scare them as much as it would scare someone like me who's never had to deal with anything close to what they probably were coming from. And so, as I said, like when I was telling that story about the worst ass whooping I ever got, and I was telling it, jokingly and stuff like that, I do, upon further reflection, was like, yo, man, I never considered that the reason why, some of these folks would even, be okay with another Trump presidency is because of where they came from and how much worse it was for them. And that's part of the reason why they came here. Now, the counter argument to that would probably be like, yo, you don't want this place to become the place that you just, that you fled from. Right. But, in the way in which I expressed it that night, after I thought about it some time, and I was like, man, that probably wasn't the right motherfucking move. And so for those of you who listened to me that night, I do apologize because I feel like I minimized those folks' experiences, and I don't want to do that when I'm on this microphone, man. I just don't. I try to speak to the realness and how a regular everyday dude, right, a blue collar worker, how I see the world and stuff like that. But at the same time, I have to be cognizant of the fact that like, yo, man, you could be, saying some shit. And of course, everybody's not going to agree with you, but you could be saying some shit that, totally just disregards how other folks are feeling about something that is very dear to them. And for that, I apologize, man. Real talk. I don't ever want people to feel that like I don't give a fuck about them, especially considering the things that we have, in front of us going forward. Right now. I thought it was important to make sure that I said that. Now, before we get into the rest of the show, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard. You can go ahead and hit up our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. There's area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get read here and replied to here live on the show. You can also hit us up at our email at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails, and of course, those emails will get right here and reply to here live as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, if you're checking us out via YouTube, because we are broadcasting live right now on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Right. So if you're watching this, man, leave us a comment. Let us know what you're thinking about what we're saying here on the show on YouTube. Also, leave us a thumbs up. Those thumbs up help, in the algorithm and all this other shit. I really would. Small tangent here. I really wish we can go back to the days where like keywords were like king, right? I'm old school internet, man. Keywords, man. Fuck your algorithm, man. Keywords, man. People were looking for certain things. All they had to do was put the keywords in and boom, your shit popped up. Now we got to worry about YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all these other places trying to algorithmically serve you up some shit that you might not even be interested in, but they thought you was interested in it because it's something similar to this, right? No, motherfucker, it's not. It's not the same thing. But yeah. But yeah, man, if you're watching this via YouTube, man, leave us those comments. Vote. No, we don't not vote in the polls. But leave us a thumbs up, man. We really appreciate everybody who does that. Now, if you're watching us or checking us out on Spotify, man, we do have polls on Spotify. We do have question and answers on Spotify. So, I mean, if you're listening to us via Spotify, man, we appreciate for those of you to participate in that way as well. And for everything else, man, go to our website, www.thespannreport.com. You can go there and visit our store, man. Copy yourself some merch. That's another way that, you can help us out over here monetarily. You know what I'm saying? And also, man, we got some nice stuff in that store, bro. I don't think we have anything ugly in that store. I wouldn't wear it if I thought it was ugly, right? But yeah, man, we got t-shirts, we got hoodies, we got coffee mugs, we got mouse pads, we got stickers, man. We got a little bit of something for everybody. So if you want to help us out monetarily in that way, we really do appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Also, you can donate to the show via PayPal and our Patreon, right? So you can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety, man. Real talk. Thank you so much as we get the business out of the way. Yeah, man. So, yeah, like I said, it's been a couple weeks since the last time I talked to y'all. As a matter of fact, the last time I talked to y'all, it was before my fucking water heater took a shit on me, man. Yeah, man, I was in the shower and let's just say the water got a little bit cold before the water was supposed to get cold. It was like, yo, man, what the hell is this? And so I go downstairs to my basement and I've got one of the water heaters that it's a self-ignition water heater. So I don't have a standing pilot on it. If I need the hot water, it'll light itself and, boom, hot water and stuff. It's not one of those tankless water heaters, but it's, it'll light itself and shit, right? So I go down there and I take a look at it, and it's, there's on the control valve there, there's it's flashing and shit. And I'm like, okay, so that's something's wrong already. I can tell that because I'm a gas man, right? I see this shit every day. Something's wrong. So let me see how many times it flashed, and it flashed 4 times. I'm like, okay, so what does the 4 times mean? And apparently my water heater was heating up the water entirely too goddamn hot, man. Like it was so hot that the water heater said, fuck it, man. So, yeah, I'm not necessarily, I understand. I work with gas all day long, every day. I will light a water heater. I will, at the very least, if I think something's wrong with it, if it's electric, it's got like any sort of electricity going to it, I will unplug that bitch and I will plug that motherfucker back in and reset it, and boom, everything's cool. But mine wasn't taking that, man. Mine wasn't taking that at all. It was still coming back with that error code 4. So you know what your boy did? I Googled this shit, right? And so after I Googled it, it said, it sent me to down the rabbit hole of home improvement and do it yourself and stuff like that. And I saw a video of this guy who was essentially remedying somebody having a similar issue, but he was taking the entire gas control valve out of the water heater and he was replacing it. And I'm like, well, fuck, man, do you got to replace the whole thing? There's no way you can really just reset that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Because them shits ain't cheap. Right? Those shits ain't cheap. Because I was looking for them after I seen what the problem was. I'm like, all right. And the cheapest I saw that part for was $253.
What the fuck, y'all? God damn!
Yeah.
God damn!
Yeah.
God damn!
Mm-hmm.
What? Fuck!
$253 to replace that shit, right? So I'm like, all right. And so I grabbed my what was that, the owner's manual for the water heater, and sure enough, it said I'd have to replace that fucking part. Now, here's the other thing, though, right? I'm thinking, okay, cool. I know what the issue is. I got to replace this part, and I could probably watch a YouTube video on how to do this shit, right? So I'm thinking it's gonna be a pretty decent, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? I work with my hands every day, so I'm like, I could do that. That's no problem. What I did not recognize was that the problem was going to be me getting my hands on that fucking replacement part, right? So I don't know why, but I went to Ace Hardware. They didn't have it. I went to Lowe's. They didn't have it. I even stepped foot in the Home Depot, and I don't fuck with Home Depot just on, you know, political purposes and shit. But they didn't have the motherfucker neither. And then there was this other. I went to Menards. All right, I checked out Menards. Menards didn't have the part either. And I'm like, God damn, man. So I called one of my homies. I'm like, yo, bro, you in HVAC? You do heating and cooling and shit. Where the fuck do where the fuck do y'all get y'all parts and shit when y'all fixing somebody's water heater or something like that? And he's like, yo, man, you know, we got, we got our own supply shops and stuff like that. And another one of the guys, as a matter of fact, when I was in Lowe's, one of the guys in Lowe's said, yeah, you might want to go to a contractor's warehouse and see if they had that part. And he showed me one, and that wasn't that far away. So then I go to this contractor's, place, warehouse or whatever, where they supposedly have all these parts and stuff. And I'm in there, and the first thing that threw me was like, this motherfucker asked me who I work for. And I'm like, fuck, that got to do with anything, right? And I told him, I said, well, I work for, one of the local utility companies or whatever. And he was like, oh, okay, do you got your badge? Like, why, bro? Like, what are we doing here? I just need a part for my water heater, man. And he was like, yeah, see, the thing is, we only sell to licensed contractors and shit. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't know this was that kind of party. I'm thinking I could come in here, I can get this part for my water heater, and then I can go home and I can fix my shit. And he was like, nah, see, I mean, you might be cool with who you work for or whatever, but them's the rules. We can't just be, we can't sell this stuff to like lay people, like just regular folk. You can't just walk in here and get shit. And I'm like, all right, man, whatever, bro. But he was like, yo, so here's what we're going to do. Before I do this employment verification, I'm going to look this part up to see if we even got it in the warehouse, right? So I'm like, all right, do your thing, bro. And he looks it up. And ironically, this motherfucker don't have a part neither. I'm like, So even the plumbers that come to y'all, if they needed y'all, couldn't get this goddamn part. Like I'm up shit's creek at this point, because I just want hot water at the house. I just want hot water, man. So I came home a little bit defeated. I'm like, man, like what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, because a cold shower is not the business, man. It is not the business. And something told me, man, I just said, you know what? I put in the model number for my gas control valve on my water heater, and I'll be damned at this website, and I'm going to shout them out because they deserve a shout out. Supplyhouse.com had my part, right? And I'm like, all right, cool. Ironically, supplyhouse.com was the one who quoted $253 for that goddamn part. It was actually cheaper than the plumber's supply house or whatever, or the contractor's warehouse or whatever, because the contractors were trying to charge me $365 for that shit, right? So I'm like, yeah, I just went on ahead. I said, I bit the bullet. I said, fuck it, I'm gonna just order it from them, and I'll be damned. I swear to God, I'll be damned if that shit didn't show up to the crib like 18 hours later. Before I could wake up the next day, it was at my door, right? So I'm like, yo, kudos to the supply house. Let me go down here and start fucking with my water heater. Now, mind you, that was the first time I had ever done that shit in my life. I had recorded myself doing it and stuff. I'd watched a couple YouTube videos. I watched one right before I did that shit. And, I made it happen. I got my water heater fixed and stuff. But the other interesting thing was folks telling me that, like, yo, man, if you're going to replace that part, you should just go ahead and replace the water heater. To which I'm going, like, nigga,
that'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Not only that,
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
because the whole water heater wasn't fucked up, right? The whole water heater wasn't fucked up. It was the control valve that was fucked up. Why would I replace the entire water heater when it's just the control valve, right? But also, just on some monetary shit, the average price of a water heater ain't fucking cheap either, bruh. Like, I was in that, like, again, like I told y'all, I was in Menards, I was at Lowe's, I was at Home Depot, I was at Ace Hardware. Like nigga, the cheapest fucking water heater, brand new up in that bitch, was about $1,100 motherfucking dollars. And I'm like, hey, $1,100 compared to $235, something like that. Hey, bro, I'm gonna go with the 235, 253, whatever, right? I'm gonna roll that way, you know? So yeah, man, I got hot water. I fixed my shit. You know, the joys of home ownership. You know what I'm saying? I kind of miss the days when, you know, I was in an apartment and like if something went out, I can call maintenance or whatever, and you know, maintenance would have to take care of it. But I actually did feel really good just being able to put my hands on something in my house and like kind of like make it better, right? So yeah, man, that happened since the last time I talked to y'all, man. Now, another thing happened. Another thing happened since the last time I talked to y'all. And that was Candace Owens getting fired from the Daily Wire.
God damn. You got to be a stupid motherfucker to get fired on your day off.
She got fired on her day off, y'all. She got fired on her day off. Now, I know it's been a while since this happened. This happened like a week ago, maybe a little bit over a week ago or whatever. I wasn't going to even speak on this on the show. You know, partially because like, you know, I felt like by the time I got on the mic to even say anything, most everybody, by the time you're listening to me, most everybody's already said everything that really needs to be said about why we shouldn't fuck with Candace Owens. Before this, I was telling people like, yo, Candace Owens doesn't believe most of the shit. I don't believe that she believes most of the shit that she says. I believe that she's a grifter and everything else. Right. And I also took issue with the fact that she was going on the Breakfast Club. I feel like Charlamagne spearheaded that. And she also showed up on the Joe Budden podcast. And one of the things that I said even at that moment was like, yo, she showed up in places where she knew that those folks were not equipped to fact check her in real time. And it gave her a straight direct. It was like a straight direct line to an audience that I don't think that she respects. Right. In much the same way that like, you know, and it's not just her. There's people on the left that I don't think respect the audience of, you know, people who listen to the Breakfast Club and stuff like that. I remember when was that Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks showed up on the Breakfast Club saying, you know, all sorts of crazy shit. And I'm like, yeah, he's saying this because he doesn't think that the people who listen to this show are smart enough to pick up on some of the things that he's saying. This bullshit. And this was around the time when he was calling himself running for president. I don't know if that's still a thing going on, but he was calling himself running for president despite the fact that he's not even eligible to run for president because he's not a natural born American citizen. So it's like, yo, why are you wasting everybody's time with this bullshit, right? But he went on that show and, you know, he said a bunch of shit that would, you know, that kind of flew over the host head that I think that he believed flew over a lot of the people who would listen to that show, flew over their heads, right? And so with Candace Owens, it was like, yeah, there's a strategy around her showing up on shows like The Breakfast Club, like Fresh and Fit, like the Joe Budden podcast. She doesn't respect those audiences. She knows that those audiences are kind of like low information, especially on some of the politics that she's speaking on, right? And and one of the things that I thought was interesting about it is that like as she was going on these different platforms, I'm noticing who is like, you know, in my mentions or like people who are being fed, you know, in my feed telling me, man, I think Candace Owens came off pretty good. You know, I think Candace Owens, I don't know why people aren't listening to Candace Owens, man. She said a lot of the things that I agree with. And one of the things that I think is interesting about when folks say that, right? Of course, there's like a broken clock is right twice a day sort of thing that goes on. But the other thing that goes on is this, man. Candace Owens, in to some degree, will appeal to some who are really heavy into some respectability politics, right? I'll say like there's a reason why there are certain people within popular culture that she tends to attack, and most of it is about whether or not these folks are or should be deemed respectable. There's a reason why she came at Cardi B, you know, and called Cardi B illiterate. There's a reason why she stays mentioning people like Sexy Red and Sukiyana. There's a reason why Ice Spice was a target of hers, right? There's a level of respectability that she can lean into where there's a lot of folks in the black community who like, yeah, you know what? I don't like these images of young black women, man. This some old bullshit, man. You know, they always put our motherfucking worst people up. And it's interesting coming from a certain segment of folk because I'm old enough to remember when we were the ones who were saying that the people like C. Dolores Tucker and the Reverend Calvin Butts were, you know, out of touch with what was going on with the community at that time. And now here we are some 20, 30 years later, and we're those folks now, right? We're those folks now. We're the ones who are shitting on the popular culture that the kids like. We become those aunts and uncles that we hated when we were growing up. A lot of us have, right? So Candace Owens can kind of lean into some of that when she goes on these particular platforms. You know, like you have people talk about how Ice Spice and, you know, what was that, Sexy Red and all these young women mostly are industry plants. You know, they put these people in, you know, to make them popular so that, you know, we have this stereotype of young black women and stuff like that. And, you know, I don't know. I kind of wonder, like, when you say stuff like that, like when like at what point is it, you know, them owning who they are sexually? Because it was fine when, you know, men were, you know, kind of promoting these images of these women as long as they were under the thumb of a dude, you know, like before, right? So like when we had Lil' Kim, it was okay because Lil' Kim was under the thumb of someone like a Notorious B.I.G., right? When we had, you know, Nicki Minaj, so to speak, it was okay because Nicki Minaj was probably under the thumb of Lil Wayne or Drake, right? And so now these young women are kind of taking agency for themselves and they're expressing themselves sexually in the music, and they don't necessarily have that male cosign. And suddenly now we're so worried about the image of the black woman and how they're portrayed. Not to say that I'm agreeing with everything that they're doing, because I don't. But I think sometimes, you know, our arguments, you know, we kind of pick and choose when we decide we're going to have those arguments, right? So Candace Owens leans into it like lately, like when it comes to the conservatism and stuff like that, she leans into that. And like I said, I wasn't going to even talk about this because I thought this was going to be a dead thing by the time I got on this microphone. I really did. Until I saw this, right? So let me pull this up so you guys can see this here as well. I'm going to pull this up here. Oh, that's not it. There we go. All right. So this was posted on Candace Owens's Instagram. I want to say yesterday, if not yesterday, then earlier today. And in it, she says, the most brutal smears I ever faced was the media's attempt to convince black people, my own community, that I hated them. Excuse me. Finally, Black America is recognizing they were intentionally misled. That is thanks in large part to the Breakfast Club interview and Joe Budden. I'm going to read that last part again. That is thanks in large part to the Breakfast Club interview and Joe Budden. And I got to say, man, it's one of those things where I feel like I called that out from the very motherfucking beginning. Like, I feel like that was the thing that I was like, yo, that's exactly what the fuck she's doing. She's going through this whole, there's a reason why she was picking these particular outlets and Fresh and Fit, right? You know, the male misfits who listen to those goofy motherfuckers. So I felt like it was already like there's a strategic thing. Like, and I know like someone like Roland Martin, he did like a 50-minute fucking breakdown of like over the course of the years, some of the abhorrent things that Candace Owens had said and stuff like that. And, you know, shit. But, you know, from jump, when I saw what she said here, first thing I thought was old boy in Black Panther, man.
We will not have it.
I said we will not have it. Oh.
We're not gonna have it, man. And it's just weird, man, like kind of watching, unfortunately, a lot of dudes, because I'm seeing it from a lot of brothers, man. A lot of dudes who look like me, who are, you know, in much the same way that some of these niggas were like really trying to pick up and like do the heavy lifting for like what's her name? Rachel Dolezal some years ago. When Rachel Dolezal got caught catfishing black people, it was a whole bunch of niggas like, well, I don't know, man. She doing more shit for us than a lot of black people doing, man. I don't know how y'all gonna be mad at this woman for going out here and doing stuff on our behalf. That's some bullshit. Y'all don't even know why y'all even mad at that woman. It's like, nah, nigga, we know why we mad at her. And even if we do express why we mad at her, you gonna come up with another excuse as to why we shouldn't be mad at her for the shit that she was doing. And there's a lot of niggas who are out here gaslighting black people about why they should be mad at Candace Owens all of a sudden. Like, we forgot that Candace Owens was walking around here with a White Lives Matter t-shirt on, along with Kanye West coon ass. Like, we forgot that Candace Owens was saying that George Floyd died not because of the knee that was on his neck, but because he was on drugs and he died of a drug overdose. That we forgot that that when Ahmaud Arbery was killed, that she tried to blame Ahmaud Arbery's killing on himself, and said that he was breaking into new construction in the area, and that's why those three men went up, hunted him down, and killed him. Right? That, Juneteenth is ghetto and made up. I mean, like, we can go down the line. The lady has said some abhorrent shit over the course of the last few years. I saw someone at one point, what was it? I can remember there was an appearance that she made on Fox News where she said she never dealt with racism. Racism has never been a problem in her life, as if we didn't know that she had the NAACP behind her when she sued her school district for racial discrimination against herself. So the idea that this person would seek after she got fired from her fucking job. This is the other part that I thought was very rich. This is the richest part of it, because she at one point was she was railing against diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, right? That's become the buzzword on the right. That's become the buzzword amongst conservative circles, DEI. They even call everything, they dropping DEI on everything. They dropping that shit on there like Lowry seasoned salt. They think they can just say DEI and it covers everything. What they really want to say is nigga, and they're cowardly in that way. They can't be, brazen with it. So there's a sprinkle, let's sprinkle a little racism on there, put that DEI on there. I'm gonna sprinkle a little racism. I'm gonna put that CRT on there, right? Suddenly, these three letters, like they come up with all these three letters and use those to attack black people and whatever sorts of advancements we've made in the last, 60, 70 years or so, right? But just recently, she was in she was going against what was that? She was railing against DEI, and she came to the defense of one of her ex-colleagues, is Charlie Kirk, who was the president, I believe, or whatever the fuck his role is at Turning Point USA, which is a conservative outfit that tends to target younger folks in colleges, right? And Charlie Kirk was coming under fire because Charlie Kirk said if he went on a plane and saw that there was a black pilot, he would feel a little less safe with the black pilot. So here was Candace Owens taking up for one Charlie Kirk. Let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me here. Let me take that down and let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me here. And let me do this here. All right. Let's see what Candace Owens had to say about Charlie Kirk. And, as you can see, this is how she's looking at it, right? He's right. This is what she said at that time. He's right.
My friend Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA has come under a lot of fire. He's been trending for about 4 days over a remark that he made, which people are calling racist. Charlie Kirk has a show that is called Thought Crime, and they were talking about DEI policies, the idea that we should just be hiring people on the basis of them being black, on the basis of them being a female. And particularly he was discussing,
which isn't what DEI is, right? That's the other part that they always tend to leave out. That's not what DEI is. It's not as if they're hiring and firing. They're hiring people just because they have a demographic sort of check mark. So yeah, he's black. Boom. Okay, we just check that off. Black and female. Boom, boom. Okay, we got the double whammy on that one, right? You've got to be qualified to even get in the fucking door. You've got to be qualified before you even get in the door. So before you even get to they're black and they're female, or they're black and they're male, hey, they've got the qualifications to be here. It's a bonus, right? If they could check it off. But they've got to have the qualifications first, right?
This as it pertains to pilots in the air. Take a listen to what Charlie Kirk said and why he's catching some heat.
And that's why I think this United story and the DEI story hits so hard, because we've all been in the back of a plane when the turbulence hits, or when you're flying through a storm and you're like, I'm so glad I saw the guy with the right stuff and the square jaw get into the cockpit before we took off. And I feel better now. You want to
go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry.
Well, first things first, like, I'm going to tell you this too. There's been a few times where I got on a plane and never saw the fucking pilot at all, right? You walk on a plane, you're walking through the jetway, you walk on a plane, and the pilots might be in the cockpit already, and you're greeted by the flight attendant or the lead flight attendant, and they're, hey, hi, how are you doing? Welcome on Delta or whatever, flight okay, we make your way down there, and if you're sitting, first class or comfort plus or economy or whatever, depending on your, whenever you get on the fucking plane. They just, hi, how you doing? They're just very nice. There's been a few times where I got on that plane not knowing who the pilot was or what they look like, and I only heard their voice on the overhead mics, speakers, when they were announcing who they were, where we were going, what the weather's like where we're going, and there may be some turbulence on the way, right? That's it. I ain't never sat there like, man, I sure hope this is a white dude with a square jaw, man. Look like this motherfucker was in Top Gun or something. I ain't never thought that. Absolutely ever, bro. I just assumed that if this motherfucker got this job piloting a 737, holding maybe 200 people on it, then maybe this motherfucker was qualified to do it. I don't know anybody who just rolls up in a goddamn and just flies planes, bro. I don't know anybody like, hey, I want to just fly a plane, man. Can I fly one of them planes, nigga? Can I fly a plane, nigga? I don't know nobody who's ever had that experience, ever, right? But this is what the whites is concerned about. I got to see the guy with the right stuff. Okay.
And I feel better now. You want
to go thought crime? Like, I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
Well, you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that before.
That's not an immediate. No, you wouldn't have done that before. That's not who I am. That's not what I.
That's absolutely who you are. That is absolutely who you are.
Believe
it is the reality the left has created.
So you can see why the left loved that clip and why they're now calling Charlie Kirk, who I worked for and with for years, an avowed racist. He says that that's going to be his first thought if he sees a black pilot. And
ironically, she said, I worked for and with for years. How many black people worked for and with Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens? And not only that, your very presence there was an exercise in diversity, equity, and inclusion. But mostly, so long as it played to the benefit of those who could use your blackness as a way to shield themselves from any criticism of racism whatsoever. Right? And right now, even in this moment, you're providing racial cover for a white man who just said something that was incredibly fucking racist. That's just what your role has been for the better part of the last 8 years now.
And you know what? I said the exact same thing on this show just a couple of weeks ago. I remarked that now when I even am watching a commercial, if I see a commercial and I see a black person, an Hispanic person, an Asian person, my thought process is, did they just get this because DEI? I no longer think the person is qualified. Way back when, just a few short years ago.
You think that person got that spot in the commercial because of DEI? What, are they qualified to be in the cereal commercial, Candace Owens? Hey, black people really don't eat cereal, okay? Black people wake up with a 40 ounce and a goddamn blunt. Am I right? Okay. No, bitch. We eat cereal too. And it just so happens some of us like Cheerios. I can be qualified to eat Cheerios because I love Honey Nut Cheerios, man. I can eat Honey Nut Cheerios in the commercial. It don't take a whole lot to be qualified to eat Honey Nut Cheerios in the commercial. But you saw a commercial and said, hey, did that black person get that job because they were just simply black? I don't know. Maybe we just want the nation or the commercials to look like the people in the nation. Is that a fucking crime? Is that against the law, ma'am?
When I used to watch movies and I used to see a black character, I always just thought it's because he's a great actor. Denzel Washington, one of the greatest actors of our time. Like, he's amazing, obviously. But now my experience has changed because I recognize that we no longer live in a meritocracy. And I'm thinking they hired that person because they had to fulfill the quota. Oh, we must have at least X amount of black people. And I don't think that they deserve to be in those spaces anymore. And it makes me upset that that's my thought process when I see a commercial and when I see a movie. Is this person actually even a good actor, or are they just checking a box? But unfortunately, that is the reality of what happens when it comes to DEI. And
that's what happens when you think that the only reason that these people are in these positions is because they are wholly unqualified, which is racist in and of itself, because it says that anybody who obtains any of these positions are only there because of, some program that allows for them to be there. They couldn't possibly be qualified for these spots, and the only people who are qualified for them tend to be white college educated males, right? Those are the only ones that we can actually look at them and say, hey, that guy should be there, right? But if anybody else is in that position, you find yourself as a black woman questioning whether or not they should be there and not even recognizing the irony of your fucking position is what was so fucking, it was delicious. It was delicious when she got fired from her position at Daily Wire. Because, listen, she's at the Daily Wire now in this clip while she's saying this racist shit about black folks and how she thinks that I only think that they're only there in that position because they're black and they check off a box. That's totally okay with the Daily Wire that you say this racist shit against against black people, right? It's totally okay for you to say some racist shit against Latinos, right? The border crisis and everything, and they're overwhelming our border. They're bringing fentanyl. They got these criminals coming over, and these people don't want to work. And if they do work, they're taking jobs that should go to naturalized Americans, and all these different things that y'all say about these folks, right? But you didn't recognize that the minute you said something against the people who paid you, that your ass would be on the other side of the gate, right? That they was going to send you someplace else, right? So the idea that Candace Owens was going to be out here doing the Breakfast Club and doing Joe Budden and doing the Fresh and Fit podcast, the very fucking idea that she can go on these platforms and suddenly, hey man, Candace Owens don't sound that bad. We supposed to forget all this stupid, crazy, silly shit that she been saying for 8 years because she went on these 3 motherfucking platforms and tried to rebrand her whole shit. Right? We supposed to forget 8 years of her saying some stupid, dumb shit. And I've said this on this microphone. I've said it on social media. I said, I don't even believe that Candace Owens is really conservative. I don't. I think that Candace Owens went where the money resided. Candace Owens started off on the left. She was doxing motherfuckers on the right. She had a whole site called Social Autopsy where she was doxing people on the right. Then suddenly that didn't really work out for her. She comes out as Republican. She's a Republican darling just like that. The money was poured in. The money poured in so good. Candace Owens started looking decent, y'all. Have y'all noticed that Candace Owens' hair hasn't been as fried lately? Her edges have been kind of gelled down a little bit. She's even got somebody working on her makeup a little bit. Candace Owens don't look as busted as she used to before, like, you know, the conservatives, you know, because conservatives, man, I don't know what it is about y'all in the hair and whatever else, man, but y'all be out here looking bold, man. I say this is a motherfucker who is follically challenged. I ain't even got no fucking hair on my head. But y'all can't be out here. I mean, like, she looks decent. Even here, like, she looks decent. But when she first came out as a conservative, bruh, they had her out here looking bold, bruh. It was not nice. I got a friend, man, and I love my brother to death, man. Every now and again, I don't know if this nigga is trolling or what, but he swears to God he's crushing on Candace Owens now. And I'm like, all right, bro, you know, she a coon and all, but whatever, nigga. But yo, like, apparently the money resided so much to where she was actually able to get some decent stylists and makeup artists, bruh. She done came up some. So I'm gonna need us, though, to recognize what's in front of us right now, though. What's in front of us right now is someone who had, to some degree, ingratiated themselves amongst white folks who don't like us, amongst a party who seeks to disenfranchise us, who seeks to further marginalize us. She saw herself as someone opposite and other from this very community that she's now trying to fucking claim. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you. Fuck you and everybody who's riding with you, including those ashy niggas in my mentions, especially, like, as much as I like Threads, right? You know, let me pull this fucking video down. As much as I like Threads, I did find myself going back and forth with a couple, like, you know, niggas who would totally gaslight you on some, you know, well, Candace Owens clarified that she didn't go to the NAACP. The NAACP used her story to try to, you know, amplify themselves. Like, nigga, who the fuck is Candace Owens? Where the NAACP needs her to amplify them. Nigga, the NAACP has been a thing long before Candace Owens was even a twinkle in her daddy's eye. Who the fuck is she where the NAACP needs her to amplify the NAACP? Make that shit make sense. Right? But the other thing, though, and this is like for the motherfuckers like Charlemagne, and the motherfuckers like Joe Budden. I know Joe Budden saw this as nothing more than like an opportunity to make money, right? I believe that he put like his particular interview with Candace Owens behind the paywall. I don't even listen to the regular Joe Budden podcast, so I for damn sure wasn't going to pay to watch that shit. Now, Charlemagne knew from the very beginning on The Breakfast Club that people were not going to like the fact that Candace Owens was showing up on The Breakfast Club. He opened that interview up with, they ain't going to like this one. But he also knew that people were going to hate watch that particular interview. I have yet to watch that interview either. I've seen clips where, you know, they asked her some shit about, what was that? How to respond to God is good. And every self-respecting black person already knows how to say that all the time, right? Or they had her recite the lyrics to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, there are white people who can recite the lyrics to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's not challenging. But the idea of having her on and not challenging her on a lot of the bullshit that she was saying was problematic. As much as it was problematic, it would be problematic to have someone like a Nikki Haley on The Breakfast Club and not challenge her seriously on anything. As much as it would be problematic to have someone like Cenk Uygur on there and not necessarily be able to, you know, in real time fact check some of the bullshit that was coming out of his mouth, right? So I actually, like, I wonder what The Breakfast Club is feeling, or how they're feeling, or if they feel anything at all about how Candace Owens essentially has used them as a way to try to soften her image amongst black folks, and is now blatantly saying so, that this is, I pretty much used y'all in order to get to something else. And what have they said about that since then? What have they said about that? So, yeah, man, I just know, for anybody that I know that has any sort of sense, that has any level of self-respect as a black person, when they see a Candace Owens and they acknowledge a Candace Owens in any meaningful way, they know that Candace Owens is on some bullshit. And when Candace Owens comes around, we already know that we own this shit. We own this time, y'all.
We will not have it. I said we will not have it. Oh.
We not having it, man. We not fucking having it. At least I'm not. Everybody that knows me knows I ain't, man. Nah, not your boy. Not your boy, man. Whoo, I spent a lot of time talking about that. God damn, Spann. But yo, man, what else we got going on? We got this shit going on. So Stephen A. Smith came at Hillary Clinton, man. He upset with Hillary Clinton, apparently. Well, not necessarily upset, but he disagrees with Hillary Clinton on her opinion about what she said when it came to folks who are upset with the choices that we have at president of the United States in the year 2024. And so let's see. Do I have video of that? Let me see if I have video of this. Let me take this down here. Excuse me. Let me take this down here and see if I have that video. I'm sure I do. But let me make sure. Yep, we do. Or at least we have an article for it. And let me see if there's there is video. And he's with Abby Phillips. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on a second while I do that. All right. Here we go. Let's see what Stephen A. Smith has to say about Hillary Clinton and her comments.
Good to have you on set. So what do you make of that? Get over it?
I don't think it was a very wise statement on her part. How did that work out for her in 2016? I think that's something that we have to recognize. Yes, she won the popular vote, but at the end of the day, she wasn't the president of the United States.
Which is a problem, right? That she did win the popular vote and she didn't become president of the United States. The last time a Republican won the popular vote in the presidential election was in 2004 with George W. Bush when he was going against John Kerry, right? 2004. It's been 20 years since the last time a Republican won the popular vote in any presidential election, and yet we've had two Republican presidents.
It was him. You can look at her not campaigning in Wisconsin in the last days, not campaigning in Pennsylvania in the last days. You can look at some of the stuff that they were saying about her that sort of distracted things from where it should have been in terms of Comey and his report from the FBI. You can bring up a whole bunch of things, but at the end of the day, the last thing you need to do is to do anything that could agitate a potential voter in this particular election.
What do you make about the actual argument that she's making? I mean, she's basically saying two old people, yes, but they're substantively different. I mean,
absolutely.
91 counts against him.
Well, listen, nobody's brought that up more than me. 4 indictments, 91 counts, impeached twice. I'm not voting for him. I've said that to a lot of people. I've said that to you. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that at some point in time, you got to take into account what the voters thinking about. The voters, a lot of them out there, tens of millions of them out there, by the way, don't care what he's going through right now. They don't care about his guilt or innocence, his perceived guilt or innocence. They don't care about the 91 counts. They're thinking about their lives. And a lot of times we see politicians taking the positions that they're taking, and while we can respect their candor and their honesty, they do seem a bit detached at times from what the voters are actually feeling and what the voters are actually thinking. Nobody wants to hear that from Hillary Rodham Clinton at this particular moment in time, because especially if you're Joe Biden, what are you really, really worried about right now? You're worried about folks coming to the polls. You're worried about them showing up to the polls to vote for you. You're not worried even about them voting for Trump. You're worried about them not showing up to vote for you. That doesn't exactly encourage them to get up out of their seats and go to the polls.
Which is a problem. But I don't know if Hillary Clinton articulating that is the problem. I think Hillary Clinton was right in 2016. Hillary Clinton is right motherfucking now. Hillary Clinton told everybody what Trump was going to do if he was anywhere close allowed to be president of the United States, and he pretty much did everything that she said he would do, right? So I've said this on this show, I've said it on social media. People complain or have been complaining as of late. Man, we got these the two motherfuckers that we really got to choose from, bro. This some bullshit, man. I mean, you got these old motherfuckers, old white men, man, old white men. Now, you've had 2 different election cycles where you could have determined whether or not those 2 old white men were being replaced by somebody else, right? In 2020, I don't remember exactly how many Democrats was on that goddamn on that stage at the beginning, but I do know you had some people of color. You had Kamala Harris. You had Cory Booker. You had Tulsi Gabbard. You know, she's a sketchy motherfucker, but you had her too. You know what I'm saying? You had Bernie Sanders was up there. You had Elizabeth Warren up there. You had Mike Bloomberg was up there. You had what's my man name? Was Beto running? I want to say Beto O'Rourke was running too. One of those Castro boys is running. I mean, you had choices, man. We had fucking choices, right? And it ended up being Joe Biden, right? Even on the Republican side, they had some choices too. They had Asa Hutchinson. They had Nikki Haley. They had Marco Rubio, not this cycle, but before. You know what I'm saying? You had fucking, what's my man name? You had, soft shoe Tim Scott. You know what I'm saying? You had Vivek Ramaswamy. You had what's my man name? I'm drawing a blank right now. You had a bunch of folks, right? Now on that Republican side, a lot of them, you had Chris Christie over there, right? Now on the Republican side, what a lot of them motherfuckers was thinking is like, yo, man, I don't want to alienate these Trump voters because, I want them to vote for me if anything happened to him. Right? They were trying to play it safe. They were trying to split the motherfucking needle. They was on some like, yeah, I ain't gonna really come at him too hard because, his people is pretty fucking strong on his side. But if something happened to him, they could fall to me if I end up in the spot, right? Wrong. They wasn't coming your way. Right? So when Hillary Clinton says, yo, get over yourself, it's like, yo, these are the choices that we fucking have. You got this guy who, yeah, he's old, but he's also got shit done as far as infrastructure. He's forgiven student loans, he's forgiven more student loans than any president in the history of this nation. He's the CHIPS Act, like replacing water fucking especially here in Michigan, we had the Flint water crisis, man. They're replacing water pipes all up and through that motherfucking city. Right? So when you got that, and then you got this dude who doesn't necessarily talk about what he's going to do for nobody but his fucking self. And let's also keep this a buck. This dude is indicted 88 times. I think four charges, 87 times. I think 4 charges got dropped or some shit. But in none of these fucking cases that Donald Trump is going through, nobody in their right mind who's actually paying attention doesn't believe that Donald Trump didn't do the shit that he's been accused of doing. Right? Most everybody was like, well, he probably did that shit. He goes out in front of us and says he did the shit. He actually openly admits to some of the shit he's been accused of doing. And thinks that like, well, I was president, so I was cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to get the presidential immunity, baby. If you can't have nobody, if I can't get the immunity, man, can't nobody do this job, man, without committing crimes, man. I'm out here committing the crimes because I'm trying to do this for you. He hustling these motherfuckers, man. Donald Trump looks at his voters the same way the Democrats look at his voters. Like fucking rubes. Like rubes. He don't think they smart either. Right? But he's got them in the bag. So Hillary Clinton only said the fucking truth. I'm sick and tired, really, of people saying, man, you just agitating these people, man. You want them to come out and vote for you, and she shouldn't have said that because she lost it. She lost. No, man, more people voted for her. More people voted for her. I had a back and forth with somebody on Threads a couple days ago where they were talking about how the white working class voter in the Midwest is what determines elections. I highly disagree. I think that although that is a sizable voting block. I wouldn't necessarily say that was the determining factor. One of the things that I think people don't necessarily remember or recognize is the fact that there was a little Supreme Court case called Shelby versus Holder, where they pretty much gutted part of the Voting Rights Act, where states who had previous records of voter discrimination or voter suppression, what they did was they gutted the part where those states would have to get pre-clearance from the Justice Department before they could change any voting laws in their states. And the Supreme Court said, "No, I think we're past that point. We don't need that anymore. You know, I mean, look, we've got a black president. We've got a black attorney general. I mean, what the fuck, man? We don't need that shit anymore, right? Am I right, man?" And what did those states do as soon as that shit came down? They started going after the fucking access to the ballot. Over 16 million voters were purged from voter rolls after Shelby v. Holder. The very first election that was held, the very first POTUS election that was held in 2016 was after Shelby v. Holder. That was the very first one. Right? Black people, minorities, inner city folk were having their access to the ballots challenged at every turn. And they've been using this particular tactic ever since. And the reason why I say that the white working class voter in the Midwest didn't necessarily become the determining factor in the election is this right here. Those very same people voted for Donald Trump again in 2020, and he fucking lost by even a larger margin in the popular vote. Now, much of that is attributed to the fact that many more people had access to absentee balloting, access to the poll, because of the pandemic. It took a fucking pandemic for people to actually have access to their franchise. And Republicans have, by and large, systematically attacked your access to the ballot because, again, they don't want most people having access to the ballot. They understand that they don't have the popular stance on many issues. They're sweating this 2024 election, especially in states where they're bringing up ballot initiatives to have abortion enshrined in the constitutions of those states. Because guess what? That could lead to more voter turnout on behalf of the Democrats because, of course, like right at this moment, Democrats are the only ones who are saying, "Hey, man, we believe that women should have the right to make choices for their own bodies. We should get out of the way of that. We should let a woman and her doctor and her family determine what happens between her and that baby or that fetus or however you want to describe it. We should get out of the way of that." Meanwhile, Republicans out here talking about freedom. We are part of freedom. Freedom from fucking tyranny. And it's just freedom for a few, man. Freedom for a few. So yeah, man. Yeah, like Stephen A. coming at Hillary Clinton for just like, I believe Hillary Clinton was stating the fucking obvious. A lot of y'all need to kind of get over the shit. Y'all like, and I feel like this. I feel like after 2016, many motherfuckers still haven't learned their lessons. Still haven't learned their lessons. And that's why you're upset at what Hillary Clinton had to say. Hillary Clinton was telling you the truth then. She is telling you the motherfucking truth right now. So you got that going on. Another thing we got going on, man. Let's see. Oh shit. Here we go. I gotta reiterate this, man. Let's go back to let's do something fun, right? So last time I talked to y'all, there was a Detroit area teacher who said that she was fired because the job found out that she was a rapper on the side, right? Apparently that shit was fucking true. So let's get to this breaking news. Yeah, Yeah, man. So I remember when I talked to y'all before, man, this was something that I saw percolating on social media. I didn't see anybody like anywhere reputable talking about this. And I was like, yo, man, did she really get fired for, you know, being a rapper on the side as a teacher? And I showed you guys a video. Like they said, as the story was told to me before, as I understood it, she was a rapper on the side. School board found out about it. They fired her. And upon her firing, she went outside the school and she filmed a music video with her students outside the school, right? I don't know if all of that part, like the way that part was framed is true, but she did say that she was let go because of her, because a parent complained about her being a rapper and possibly being a bad influence to her, like the children, because she's a rapper. So let me pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Let me do this here. We're gonna get this. We get this story here from let's see, Fox 2 Detroit, and let's do this. There's a video, so we're going to play the video.
Back in the fall, Dominique Brown earned Teacher of the Month honors, and then 2 months later, she was fired, but it wasn't about anything she did in the classroom. She says a parent complained about her rap career, which was off the clock. By now, Drippin' Honey's music video, Drippin' 101, has been seen by tens of thousands across numerous social media platforms. And it combines two of her passions, rapping and some of the students she's taught. That's right, a U.S. history teacher who's moonlighting as a rapper. But last month, she was forced out of her teaching job, and it started with a parent's complaint.
That's when the first meeting was with my dean and the principal, and they were just telling me like, hey, a parent said that they seen your social media and that you're a black influence because you're a rapper.
Drippin' Honey's real name is Dominique Brown. She says that the parent continued to complain even though the educator was named Teacher of the Month. Despite asking for a complaint in writing, Dominique says she never received it. And Dominique believes that she was discriminated against.
I was like, hey, well, can we tell that parent to come in and see professionalism, see me in the classroom, see me after school, see me at all the games, see me dropping kids off every day, buying food, doing all these things. Can they come see me in my element before they try to say I'm unprofessional in it?
Was there at any point anything that was brought up that said your rap career may have, the lyrics that you use may have been a bad influence on some of the students that you had?
Well, the parents would just stay anonymous, and she didn't really give too much detail on what she did or didn't like, and the school didn't give me too much detail either. Music is part of the culture. We from Motown. This is what we do. So it's not like it's unheard of. It's the culture. And when you look like me, you just understand it a little more better, that it's not that I'm trying to deter these kids from stopping their dreams.
In a statement.
So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing that I was just thinking about. Like, I'm of a time where I remember something as simple as seeing my teacher in any capacity outside of school was mind-blowing to me, right? Like, if you saw your teacher at the grocery store, you're like, oh my God, Miss Smith, what you doing here? You be buying groceries too? Right? You was shocked that your teacher had a fucking life outside of teaching your ass, right? And to in some small part, I feel as though they're like, you know, some of these parents, because we're the parents now, I feel as though some of these parents are the same parents who was like, oh my God, Mr. Jerome, what you doing out here at the gym? You ain't supposed to be at the gym. You're supposed to be putting together lesson plans, Mr. Jones, Mr. Jerome Jones. You're supposed to be putting together lesson plans. You ain't supposed to be at the gym. What you doing out here? Right? I don't know where the fuck that voice came from. The fuck are you doing, man? But no, man, I'm serious. Like, I think that like there's an element of that attached to like people being surprised that these teachers are having lives outside of the job of being a teacher. But also, let's keep it a buck, man. Being a teacher doesn't really pay as well as it should, considering the fact that these people are molding the minds of our youth, right? We don't pay teachers enough. So the fact that some of these teachers are out here doing something other than like teaching, you know, we should actually be a little bit more understanding of that. when I talked about this particular story before, I talked a little bit about the music because I saw the music video and I said, it wasn't a diss. It was like, it sounds a lot like a lot of the stuff that's coming out of Detroit right now, as far as the music is concerned. But one of the things that I noticed, like, especially the looks on those kids' faces, was like, she's probably connecting with those kids in a way that a lot of other educators probably couldn't, because those kids feel like she understands them. Right. And it's kind of a disservice to those kids to take someone who possibly understands them out of the classroom and out of their influence because you don't particularly like the music that she does outside of the classroom, away from the school, which is totally her life. And she's, eligible to have outside of that. But I don't know if I don't know many people who, would allow for that level of scrutiny for what they do outside of, their workplace, then we hold these teachers and stuff, right? So like, this isn't even like on some OnlyFans stuff. Like, my man Rod over at the Black Guy Who Tips talks about how he believes that like a lot of these OnlyFans teachers who are getting fired supposedly for for their OnlyFans being discovered are like, he thinks they're putting out like their own stories out. Like, oh my God, because it might bring publicity towards their OnlyFans, because they're making so much money on the OnlyFans. This isn't even OnlyFans, man. She's rapping. She's involved in the music. I had a rapper teacher, man. Shout out to Mr. Gladney, bro. I had a rapper teacher. This was when I was at Olive Harvey Middle College in Chicago. He was like not that much older than us. He was probably in his like mid to late 20s when he was teaching us English in high school. He was a rapper, but he also had us in there reading motherfucking the autobiography of Assata Shakur. And I learned a lot from Mr. Gladney. I'm friends with Mr. Gladney to this day. I see Mr. G on fucking Facebook and I'm like, oh, what up, though? You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, I think there's something to be said about these teachers being able to connect with these kids in a level where these kids feel like they're understood, but also some of these parents are also holding on to this idea of, oh my God, I can't believe you have a life outside of teaching these goddamn kids, man. Real talk. Let me let this video finish out though.
A spokesperson for Taylor Preparatory High School, which is a charter school, said they're aware of Brown's allegations, but student and employee privacy rights limit what they can say. The statement went on to say, quote, student well-being remains at the forefront of everything we do, and we will continue fostering a distraction-free teaching and learning environment focused on student success.
If I was a horrible teacher, y'all would have dropped me the day it was a problem.
Did you ever feel that they were transparent enough for you?
Absolutely not.
If there ever was an opportunity and Taylor said, hey, look, we want you back, would you consider it?
No, I just want this to be an example for them to do better.
Dominique says that she's in the process of trying to seek out an attorney and take some legal action. In Taylor, I'm Brandon Hudson, Fox 2 News.
All right, Brandon Taylor. All right. But yeah, man, that's what's going on, man. I feel like, man, it might just be one parent in particular, apparently. Excuse me. But one parent in particular who is really just taking things too far, man. Real talk. Let that lady teach, man. And the kids seem to enjoy her. I'm pretty sure she's the one that like a lot of those kids go to and tell shit that they probably wouldn't tell anybody else, man. Like those types of teachers are needed in these classrooms, man. Because sometimes your kids can't come to you to tell you shit. They can't, right? And that's a conversation that I don't think many people are really like ready for. We always talk about the conversations that we ain't ready for. And oftentimes we frame those conversations around celebrity and shit. We might touch on that a little bit later. But yeah, man. Like, yeah, she should get her job back. I know she's probably not interested in it, but she should probably, get back into the teaching thing. I think that would be dope for her. Real talk. Another thing that kind of happened. What we got going on? Oh yeah, Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner. Now I saw this initially about Tyrese Gibson, and I saw it on Instagram. So it was the shade room. So I don't really take a whole lot of stock into that. But Caitlyn Jenner is mad at the Biden administration because the Biden administration had the temerity and the unmitigated gall to acknowledge Trans Visibility Day on Easter Sunday.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. There's no wonder you get D's and everything.
Yeah, man. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do something here. I'm going to read from this article from Fox News because I want to like kind of see how Fox News is framing how this particular thing happened, right? So on Fox News, it says Biden says he didn't do that when asked about Easter being Trans Visibility Day despite proclamation. So already they're trying to they're trying to frame this story from the headline. They're trying to frame this story as though Biden created Trans Visibility Day from the headline, right? Despite, because they say it is like despite the proclamation. So we're going to read this article. It says that President Biden said Monday that he didn't do that when asked about his official White House proclamation declaring March 31st, the same day as Easter this year, as Transgender Day of Visibility. In an exchange with reporters at the annual White House Easter egg roll, Biden declined responsibility for the proclamation when asked about House Speaker Mike Johnson's criticism of the action. Over the weekend, Johnson wrote on a post on X, formerly Twitter, that the White House betrayed the central tenet of Easter, adding that the proclamation was outrageous and abhorrent. He's thoroughly uninformed, Biden remarked when he was asked about Johnson's comments. I didn't do that. In a statement to Fox News Digital, a spokesperson for the White House downplayed the president's comments, noting that he didn't choose March 31st for the date as the date for Transgender Day of Visibility. Since 2021, when Biden took office, the White House has issued the same proclamation on March 31st every fucking year. So I added the fucking. Y'all know I added the fucking. But yeah, so this has been a thing since 2009, right? Biden wasn't president then. He didn't do that. At the time, Barack Obama was president of the United States. So maybe y'all can blame Barack Obama for this one, right? Not that there's any blame to go about, right? But also 2009. Damn, we coming up on damn near 20 years of Trans Day of Visibility being a thing, and this being the first time, the very first time it actually came on Easter Sunday. Because Easter Sunday is the day that doesn't have the same date every year, right? Easter doesn't have the same day. Every now and again, when I'm filling out my paperwork at the job, and like, oh, so like for vacation time, like, you know, you get like, hey, so when is Easter again? Because I gotta, okay, so all right, I'm gonna take that Thursday before Good Friday off, and then I'm gonna take that Monday after Easter Sunday off. All right, so but when do I get to do that so I can get that 5 day? I can use 2 days and get 5 days off of work, right? When can I do that? Because it changes every year, right? But that's how Fox News tried to frame it, right? But Caitlyn Jenner took it further, and we're going to get this story here. We get this out of the New York Post, which is also kind of a conservative, outfit. It said Caitlyn Jenner bashed Joe Biden for issuing a proclamation on the Transgender Day of Visibility when it coincided with Easter this year. The transgender celebrity accused the president of conflating the Christian holiday with the long-standing day of support for transgender individuals, which Jenner herself has previously celebrated. I am absolutely disgusted that Joe Biden has declared the most holy of holy days, a self-proclaimed devout Catholic, as Transgender Day of Visibility. The only thing you should be declaring on this day is he is risen. The Olympic gold medalist 74 wrote on X. Jenner, a staunch conservative who came out as a transgender woman in 2015, quickly gained backlash for her commentary online, with many noting that the holiday intended to show support for the transgender community has been held on March 31st every year since 2009. Well, seeing as how this has been going on for 9 years and Easter changes every year, you're a reactionary trying to get any support from grifting, one user wrote. Critics also noted that Jenner previously posted images of herself celebrating Transgender Day of Visibility, including in 2017. This you? A commentator wrote, sharing a post that Jenner had made in 2017, captioned, "Trans Day of Visibility. There's no better visibility than with my sisters by my side." Critics are targeting Biden for issuing a statement about Transgender Day of Visibility and claiming that the statement is at odds with Christians celebrating the resurrection of Christ on the same day this year. I don't want to say it like that. Yo, man, for those of you who have read your Bibles, you know that Christ surrounded himself by the least of those, right? And it's amazing to me how the right tries to monopolize Christianity in a way where it's exclusionary, where it's judgmental, where it is where, like, oftentimes, you know, Jesus once said, like, you know, how can you damn, I'm about to mess this up, so I'm not gonna even do it. You know, how can you talk about the speck in his eye when you got the plank in your own eye, man? Like, oftentimes, man, like the way that, like, the evangelical community and the way that, like, Republicans try to use religion in order to dictate and mandate how other people are supposed to behave is oftentimes, it oftentimes mirrors the way in which they criticize Muslims for how they run their countries in places that aren't the United States of America, right? Like, you think about how, you know, the right will oftentimes say that America is a home, you know, home of the free and the brave and all this other shit. But at the same time, you know, and they'll criticize, you know, Saudi Arabia for their, like, you know, their women have to wear burqas, and you don't even, you know, they don't have the right to drive cars and shit like that. But if they had their way here in America, man, there's a lot of evangelical people on the right who would absolutely operate in the exact same way of those people over in Saudi Arabia that they criticize right now. They would do that, man. And they would use, like, Jesus' name, and they would use Christianity as a culture in order to do that. And I think that's the antithesis of what Jesus taught when he came, and when he died, and when he rose, right? So, yeah, man, like, Caitlyn Jenner is not, honestly, like, I don't really think that Caitlyn Jenner is anybody to really be taken seriously, man. Like, interestingly enough, I noticed that they were using the proper pronouns for Caitlyn Jenner in this right-wing publication. And most of the right-wing publications, they use the right pronouns when it comes to Caitlyn Jenner. And more often than not, you don't really find people on the right complaining about the pronouns, the proper pronouns being used for Caitlyn Jenner. Because, again, Caitlyn Jenner, much like Candace Owens, gives them cover, right? Gives them cover. You can't call me transgender or transphobic. I like Caitlyn Jenner, and Caitlyn Jenner agrees with me. So fuck you and what you saying, because I got me one of those over here too. Right? Caitlyn Jenner gets used in much the same way that Candace Owens gets used by the right. They hate both of y'all, but they will use both of y'all in order to advance that agenda, man. So yeah, you got that going on. Let's see. All right, yeah, let's talk about this. Diddy got a lot of shit going on with him, man. Diddy done been sued by his ex-girlfriend, and he paid that shit up quick. You know what I'm saying? And now this motherfucker is having his houses raided, and they talking about sex trafficking and stuff. And for somebody like myself, I haven't necessarily been keeping up with everything going on with Diddy. Right. So I pulled this story up. This is from The Independent, because they were like, yo, the headline said, "What are the allegations made against Sean Diddy Combs?" And I was like, yeah, what are the allegations? Because I'm not familiar with all of them, man. Like I said, a lot of shit be going on in my life, man. I can't really keep up with all these celebrities and all the bullshit they got going on. But let's see what they're talking about here in The Independent. So I'm going to read a little bit from this story. It says, Sean Diddy Combs, a rapper and music mogul credited with helping launch the careers of some of the biggest stars in recent years, is now facing multiple civil lawsuits accusing him of sex trafficking, sexual abuse, and rape. Combs, formerly known as Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, and a host of other names, has undergone a myriad of reinventions since the start of his career, but has since entered a new and unwelcome era. Federal agents with U.S. Homeland Security raided two of the rapper's houses in Los Angeles and Miami on March 25th as he faces a string of varying accusations. Combs, 54, has strongly denied all of the allegations against him. His attorneys have branded the lawsuits and their accusations as money grabs, baseless, and sickening. The entertainer has not been formally charged or accused by federal prosecutors of any crime. Right? At this moment, he has not been accused by federal prosecutors of any crime. It says the new lawsuits come months after Combs' former partner, Cassandra Cassie Ventura, filed a lawsuit against him in November. She accused him of raping her in 2018, beating her, demanding she carry a firearm to make her uncomfortable and demonstrate how dangerous he is, and forcing her into unwanted sexual encounters with male sex workers. Ms. Ventura's lawsuit against Combs was settled a day after she filed it for an undisclosed amount of money. The slew of allegations and lawsuits against Combs date as far back as the 1990s when he founded his own record label, Bad Boy Records. Lawsuits against the rapper began in November 16, 2023, when he was sued by singer and dancer Cassie, his former partner, who alleged years of abuse. Now, I'm aware that Cassie had, sued him for sexual abuse and whatnot. And she got, a settlement out of that. Like, he paid that shit up really, really, really quickly, right? Some of the I've heard other stories. I believe Touré just came out recently and talked about he had a family member who he had recommended to be an intern for Diddy, who suddenly was fired from said internship because they refused to spend the night with Diddy. And some folks who, some folks get caught up on the fact that it was a male, and there's this whole idea of, people getting caught up on the fact that this is, some homosexual stuff, as opposed to the fact that this is somebody who is using their position as a higher up to exert influence and, just exert their influence and try to use that influence in a way to abuse someone who has, who's in a lesser position of power, right? So I hear, it's weird listening to you niggas who just get caught up on the idea of, oh man, Diddy gay, it's weird listening to you niggas with that shit, right? But also, this comes it's one of those things where again, because in this article they're saying there was some drug sex trafficking things that are going on, but Diddy hasn't been actually charged with anything as far as sex trafficking is concerned yet. As of yet, let me say that again. As of yet, it may come out later, right? But it's one of those nebulous things, man, where we're people, when shit like this happens to celebrities and we don't necessarily have the answers, in a time of social media, in a time of the 24-hour news cycle, we tend to fill in our own blanks, right? We fill in the blank. Oh yeah, man, because Cassie, right? Well, the Cassie shit is over with. He settled with her, right? Well, it was because, this other thing going on. So what is the other thing? Because we don't even know what the other thing is, because they're talking about sex trafficking, but and Cassie may even be, a cooperating witness for some criminal shit, right? But until that shoe actually drops, some of us, we really don't fucking know exactly what's going on with Sean Combs right now. I saw people talk, even when his houses got raided, it was yo man, this motherfucker done got up and fled the country like Russell Simmons. No, he didn't. His plane was out of the country, but his ass right there in Miami. Right? So we started filling in the blanks our damn selves. We started telling ourselves our own stories in order to make the shit sensationalized or whatever else, right? I wonder, I really do. I wonder what could possibly, have been the impetus that prompted the government, the fucking feds, to be raiding this nigga's house in California and in Florida. God damn, bro. Like they hit you at simultaneously. Like what the fuck you really got going on? And that's not to say that I don't know what to believe here, there, or whatever. Like I don't fucking know. Right? I don't fucking know. And I it's one of those things, man. This is something that I've been like kind of thinking about. I've been thinking about for a little while, just for a minute. And like I saw an article. Well, not even so much an article. I was on social media yesterday, and I saw this social media post where it was like a bunch of pictures of Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah was out with, like, you know, she was out at, like, you know, public functions with Diddy, Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and some other motherfuckers accused of some very nefarious shit, right? And the original poster of this, you know, content or whatever said, this is the conversation that y'all not ready to have, right? And I reposted that on my own personal Facebook, right? And one of the things that I said about it was like, you know, actually that's the pretty fucking easy conversation to have, right? Because what I saw off top was the implication that, you know, because Oprah was, you know, seen in public places with these people, that somehow she, you know, the implication by a post like that is that like Oprah Winfrey is implicated, and that Oprah Winfrey knew that these guys were shit, and we need to like start looking at Oprah to find out how Oprah is complicit in what these dudes are accused of doing or have, you know, legitimately and you know, criminally have been found liable to have done, right? And I said that, like, you know, that's the easy conversation to have because it's so far removed from most of us. We're so far removed from it. It's easy for us to speculate on what these celebrities got going on. That's why the Cat Williams interview went so fucking viral, because it was open speculation on all these celebrities, right? But the harder conversation when it comes to some of this sexual, you know, some of the sexual abuse allegations that are, you know, that are leaked out when it comes to some of these celebrities. But like the harder conversation is knowing that you have someone in your own family is who's accused of, or might not even necessarily be accused of, especially in a court of law. It probably hasn't even gotten that far yet. But the harder conversation to have is to have the conversation of that family member that you know you don't leave your kids around. We just came off of the Easter holiday. Some of us have photos of a sexual deviant, pedophile, rapist, however you want to describe them, sexual assaulter, however you want to describe them. They're in your Thanksgiving Day pictures. They're in the Christmas pictures. They're in the family reunion photos. Some of us was just kicking it with them on Easter. And we don't say anything. We take the picture because, you know, Nana don't want me to say nothing about that. Oh man, you know, he just it's harmless. You know, he ain't really mean nothing by it. You know, that sort of stuff. But you know who it is in your family that you don't trust your kids around him by himself or by themselves. But he's in all the pictures. And you just kind of to keep the peace within the family, you don't say anything. Right? Now, I made this observation, and I said this on Facebook, and I got a little bit of pushback yesterday when I said this, because one of my friends thought that I was just like giving Oprah Winfrey cover, like I was just giving Oprah Winfrey the benefit of the doubt, and it's like, for me, it's like I don't know Oprah Winfrey. She may very well be complicit in that. I don't know, but just because she's in proximity to these folks in work settings, I'm supposed to just assume that Oprah Winfrey is complicit in like the actions of a Harvey Weinstein and a Sean P. Diddy Combs and a Bill Cosby and what have you. I don't know. Even in the Sean Diddy Combs shit right now, I don't fucking know. Because I don't know. It's not to say that he didn't do it. I damn sure ain't saying he didn't do it. Settling that case with Cassie made it look very motherfucking like, man, this nigga probably did that shit. He settled that shit quick. But then we started speculating on other people and trying to connect dots with all these other motherfuckers. And again, because we don't know them, we had no connections to them, it's very easy to have those conversations. How about those conversations that you need to have that are a little bit closer to fucking home, where we are still providing some level of cover for said pedophiles or rapists or sexual assaulters, because, that's my cousin. That's my uncle. It's my granddaddy. Right? Those are the tough conversations to have. Not this shit that we be doing on social media all the goddamn time. It's very easy. Like, we can speculate all day long. It's easy to talk about these people because we just consume them. We consume the art. We consume the gossip about them. We consume the even the people around them. We consume those folks as well. It's a consumption of them. Not even as people, but just like it's something to talk about and something to do for the moment while we're bored. But on some of these more serious, on some of these more serious allegations, we need to be having these conversations a little bit closer to home. To me. And that's not to say that you gotta do that. But to me, I feel like that would serve us more than trying to hold on a second. Because I want to make sure I speak correctly here. Not that, like, I feel as though we could do both things at the same time. If you want to have these speculative conversations about these celebrities and what they're accused of doing, fine. But also, be just as willing to have these speculative conversations, or even not so much speculative, because some of you motherfuckers know what that person in your family is accused of doing. Also, be just as willing to have that conversation there as well. Right? That's where I'm at with it. So yeah, like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Sean Combs. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. You know what I'm saying? Because, again, I think, I think the horse is already out of the barn, man. People have, some folks have pretty much already made up their mind as to what he is and what has happened. So it's going to be very difficult for that dude, if ever, to reclaim his reputation. And it might not even be warranted for him to reclaim his reputation, right? It's going to make motherfuckers not say, take that so damn lightly no more, right? But, yeah, man, I just think that this particular issue with Sean Combs has made it to where, I'm more I'm just more cognizant of like how we are just like kind of consuming these things just to be able to talk about shit. But like we really could, we really should be having some of these conversations a little bit more closer to home. Real talk. But we got a comment here. Let's see. Horatio writes in to say, who did he piss off for all these things to become a man? I have absolutely no. Well, actually, we do. Cassie, nigga. Cassie came out. Cassie said, she came out with, some of the things that she alleged in that happened in their relationship, and like that opened the floodgates for other people to comment. Okay, so this is my opportunity to let everybody else know what my experience was with this person. And sometimes that's all it takes is like one person to come forward, and then the other people who had things happen to them in the background, they come forward as well, man, because everybody believes they're alone in suffering until they're not, until they find out that they're not. So yeah, man, that's who he pissed off. That's the person he majorly pissed off. Cassandra Cassie Ventura. That's who it was. But yeah, man, we got that going on. Let's see what else we got going on here. Do I want to talk about that? Nah, fuck that shit. Let's see. We got this going on. Trump wants to charge he wants to change the DOJ's civil rights office. So as it stands right now, the civil rights office of the DOJ looks for racial discrimination and holds entities accountable when they're discriminating based on race, based on any adverse events that are happening to marginalized groups, right? Well, Trump is actually trying to make it to where that particular office is aimed at trying to make white people the victims of discrimination. There we go. Yeah, man. So let me pull this story up. This comes out of yahoo.com. It says that, it says allies of Donald Trump and powerful conservative organizations are preparing to launch an offensive against anti-white racism should the former president retake the White House in November. According to a report from Axios, those in Trump's orbit are gearing up for a widespread reinterpretation of civil rights laws to combat what they perceive as reverse racism against white Americans. According to the report, this would include a mass gutting of government programs and diversity initiatives, as President Trump has said all staff, offices, and initiatives connected to the Biden's un-American policy will be immediately terminated. The initiative is already being spearheaded by former Trump advisor Stephen Miller, who founded the right-wing judicial activist outfit America First Legal after leaving the White House. Miller has leveraged civil rights era laws intended to protect minorities from discrimination to challenge woke corporate policies of inclusion. America First Legal has sued Nike, Disney, United Airlines, the National Football League, and CBS Entertainment, among others, for allegedly discriminating against white men. Because, white men have always had it hard in America. They've always had it.
Nigga.
That's what they're trying to be. They're trying to be the new nigga. Everybody want to be a nigga till it's time to be a nigga. As what was one? Paul Mooney once said. I didn't even think he was that funny, but he was on to something for that shit. Says several of the lawsuits cite the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Miller and his organization are not acting alone. America First Legal was consulted by the Heritage Foundation, a conservative think tank, in the drafting of its Project 2025 policy handbook. The handbook contains language calling for an end to affirmative discrimination and calls for an incoming conservative administration to reorganize and refocus the DOJ's Civil Rights Division to serve as a vanguard to return to lawfulness. Trump himself has repeatedly claimed to be the target of anti-white discrimination because, being a billionaire in New York and growing up with your father giving you $460 million screams motherfucking discrimination for a white dude in America. Get the entire fuck up out of here with that bullshit. Right? And so, again, we go back to like Candace Owens and, that shit she be talking about. When this is on the other side of that, where they are looking to take legislation that was put forth because of the discrimination against black people in this nation that we still haven't necessarily all the way came back from, right? Right? I mean, even after, like, you know, after slavery, man, we had what, 7, 8 years of Reconstruction, and then they just said, fuck that shit. And then they like put in another 100 years of fucking Jim Crow. So like black Americans haven't even been like all the way free into the 60s and shit. And now the shit that put us even like, yo, we are finally supposedly American citizens. They've taken that legislation to use against black people. Bruh. They think we fucking stupid. Sometimes they right. Right? Sometimes they right. But yeah, this is one of those things when I'm talking about the existential threat that Trump represents for a lot of us, man. These are the types of things that I'm thinking about. Project 2025. Like you think about like what's going on in my alma mater, Tennessee State University. At Tennessee State University, well, first of all, the state of Tennessee owes my school more than $500 million. The federal government says that Tennessee State is owed more than $2.1 billion. And suddenly the Republicans in the state of Tennessee are paying attention to the Tennessee State. But not only are they paying attention, now they want to track the money. Like that they owe. Now y'all already owe that school money. They gave Tennessee State $250 million. And, y'all just ran through that money. Hey man, the school has needs. The school has needs, and then they actually just said fuck it and removed the entire board of trustees. Right. And I'm in an alumni group on Facebook, and I like the governor. I believe his name is Governor Bill Lee. I believe his name is. He appointed 8 people who are Tennessee State University alumni. They're all black, and I just saw how many people just was enamored with the fact that they were just all black and they went to TSU, not knowing what the fuck these people represent and what they had to do in order to even be guaranteed a spot as a Tennessee State University board of trustee or be a trustee on that board, right? So like they are attacking us in so many different ways. And like oftentimes, like I said, I've been saying this, for the last few weeks, man. Like, I feel like we've been whistling past the graveyard, bro. There's a lot of people who just not paying a fucking attention to what's really happening out here. We just not, man. Real talk. I'm gonna do this story here, and then we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna get out of here. I know it's been a couple weeks, man, but I'm tired, man, and I gotta go to work tomorrow. Shit, it's already getting late. So, and I gotta get this published. So we got this one last story here. So, the Florida Supreme Court actually they upholds. Wait, that wasn't supposed to show up like that. Let me do this here. Do some live editing in real time. Here we go. Boom. All right. There we go. Bam. There we go. Okay. So in the Florida Supreme Court has allowed for the 6-week abortion ban to happen in the state of Florida, right? But what they've also done is that they have allowed for a ballot initiative to be placed on the November 2024 ballot so that people can vote on whether or not the state actually installs abortion rights within the state constitution. So we get this story here. This comes from, let me see, where did I get this story from? Oh shit. Do I not have it? Oh, here it is. There's another story. I said this is going to be the last one. It's not. It said Florida Supreme Court upholds strict abortion bans while giving voters a say in November. We get this story out of Politico. It says that the Florida Supreme Court has upheld the state's ban on abortion at 15 weeks of pregnancy, but also ruled that a ballot initiative seeking to protect the procedure can go forward to voters in November. In dual decisions released Monday, the conservative-leaning High Court appeared to attempt to please both sides of the abortion debate. It upheld the GOP's state-led state's ban on abortion while also giving voters a say in protecting the procedure in November. The state's court excuse me, the Supreme Court's 4-3 ruling on the ballot initiative could deliver a stunning blow to Governor Ron DeSantis and state Republicans who have passed strict abortion laws in recent years that ban the procedure at 15 weeks without exceptions for rape and incest, and another 6-week ban that hasn't yet been implemented. That 6-week ban will go into effect within 30 days of the High Court's ruling. Those laws have signaled an end to Florida's reputation as a safe haven for patients in the South who seek abortions. Thousands of patients from neighboring states with more restrictive laws like Alabama and even as far as Texas travel to Florida to get abortions, right? So here's why this is important, though, is because what this could mean in 2024 as far as the presidential election, right? We know that the abortion issue has been motivating women across the country, man. And they have been overperforming in states where this particular issue has been showing up on the ballot. And we also know that Republicans have been on the wrong end of this. So one of the things that could be in play is that the state of Florida isn't necessarily, it may charge a lot of people who would, some people who would probably stay home because they're not excited about President Biden or Donald Trump's goofy ass, but they may come out to vote. And while they're there, they end up voting for a President Biden because they know that, the Democratic Party has been the party who has been advocating for their right to have, the autonomy of their own body. And so, we're going to see. We are going to see. But yeah, man, like the Florida Supreme Court kind of, they kind of split the baby on this one. It was like, yeah, y'all can have, this abortion ban, but then also we're going to allow the people to vote on this come November. Now, the other thing about this that I think is very interesting too is that the people in Florida voted to allow felons to be able to have their right to the franchise reinstated. And somehow, some way, Ron DeSantis was able to like kind of maneuver a way where to be able to put barriers in front of those folks even then. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens afterwards. I believe that in Florida, those people will vote to enshrine that into their state constitution, but it's going to be interesting to see what the governor and the machinations that he comes up with in order to keep those folks from being able to like exercise their rights, the rights that they have enshrined not only in their state constitution, but legally going forward. It should be available to them, right? So you got that going on. The last story, and I promise it's the last story we're going to talk about tonight. I was going to talk about some rappers and shit, but fuck these rappers. But Angel Reese, right? Angel Reese is in the news because Angel Reese just came off of a loss to the University of Iowa. Well, she plays for Louisiana State University. She just lost to Iowa. She won the national championship against Iowa last season, right? And so Angel Reese has been, since that particular win, people have been really kind of coming at her for her demeanor, her behavior on the court, and the fact that she is, a very lucrative college athlete. She has a ton of NIL deals. I believe she has something going on with Shaq. I'm not exactly what's going on with Shaquille O'Neal and her, but they both went to LSU, right? But she, upon her loss, to Iowa, she became, she was vulnerable, and she spoke about some of the challenges that she's had since she won the national championship. And I just kind of want to play a little bit of what she said, and then I'll kind of opine a little bit on the back end. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with me, and we'll do this here. Yeah, let me do that. Boom. All right, let's see what Angel Reese has to say.
I don't really get to stand up for myself. I mean, I have great teammates. I have a great support system. I got my hometown. I got my family that stands up for me. I don't really get to speak out on things just because I just try to ignore, and I just try to stand strong. Like, I've been through so much. I've seen so much. I've been attacked so many times. Death threats. I've been sexualized. I've been threatened. I've been so many things, and I've stood strong every single time. And I just try to stand strong for my teammates because I don't want them to see me down and not be there for them. So I just want to always just know I'm still a human. All this has happened since I won the national championship, and I said the other day I haven't had peace since then. And it sucks, but I still wouldn't change. I wouldn't change anything, and I would still sit here and say, like, I'm unapologetically me. I'm gonna always leave that mark and be who I am and stand on that. And hopefully the little girls that look up to me, and hopefully I give them some type of inspiration that, no, hopefully it's not this hard and all the things that come at you, but keep being who you are, keep waking up every day, keep being motivated, staying who you are, staying 10 toes, don't back down, and just be confident.
All right. So yeah. One of the things that's like that really, excuse me. One of the things that really shot out to me was the fact that Angel Reese said that she was getting death threats, y'all. She was getting motherfucking death threats. A college athlete playing a sport was getting death threats. And when I first became aware of this particular this press conference, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't watched any of these games, but I saw people talking about it on Threads. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting was like all of the, and I'm just keeping it a buck, there was a lot of white faces up underneath that thread. And they were talking about how, how cocky she was, how arrogant she was, how classless she was, how over the top she was. And listen, you got to understand, like, especially for me, like Angel Reese, I'm old enough to be her dad, bro. Like my daughter just turned 21. I think Angel Reese is probably like 19 or 20. I'm old enough to be her father, bro, which is wild to me. But also, like, I just thought that, like, yo, man, so what you got out of this woman saying this young lady saying this is like, yo, she's too arrogant, that she's too cocky, that she's like, oh, so she carries herself like a confident athlete, and we don't necessarily have these same level, we don't have these same criticism. Oh, sometimes we do, but it's also like it's racially coded too, because again, like I said, it was largely white people in those comments talking about how she was, the villain, so to speak, and that she should have more class, and that she should be more humble, that she should shrink herself in order for anybody to have any level of sympathy for her, because she had the audacity to be competitive in a competitive environment. And there's a lot of dudes, especially there's a lot of like white dudes. I'm just gonna say it. There's a lot of white dudes who are like uncomfortable. There's a lot of dudes, not even just the white dudes. Let me take that back. It ain't even just the white dudes. There's a lot of dudes who are uncomfortable with women actually being competitive in a competitive environment. Right? These are the same motherfuckers who are always arguing about whether or not women, when women start talking about the pay disparity in the sports and stuff, oh man, here they go. Nobody watches your sports, man. Like, nobody wants to see this shit. Well, apparently they wanted to watch the women's college basketball tournament because they're getting a hell of a lot more numbers than the dudes are getting right now. Right? But this young lady goes up and says she's been receiving death threats. And you walk away from that talking about how she should be more humble. Man, fuck you. Fuck you, man. Fuck you and everything you stand for. And I was seeing it over and over again. It's like, it's weird in how people kind of try to rationalize the level of ownership and the level of, not even so much ownership, but like the level of, criticism against young people, right? Because like I said, I think she's like 19, 20 at the most, like young people. But you got these older folk who kind of resent that they didn't achieve as much as these young kids have, right? Just a bit of an aside. Bronny James decided that he was going to transfer from the University of Southern California. Someone in that one, in that announcement, you're mediocre anyway. I'm like, shit, the kid's better than you. You on Threads talking about how mediocre he is. And the only crime that Bronny James has ever committed was be the son of LeBron James. This kid is saying, I'm going to transfer schools. I'm changing the school I'm going to. And your reaction to that was, you're mediocre. Man, fuck you, bro. What are you doing? What are we doing? It's weird, man. It's a weird time that we live in, and every day I question, like what we're doing. Like ultimately, I think the Spann Report, but the Mr. Spann official podcast is. I should just rename this motherfucker. What are we doing? Because it's like ultimately, like an examination of like the current state of what's happening. Like what are we fucking doing with this, man? Why are we doing it this way? It doesn't have to be this way. So yeah, man, got that going on. But I've run my mouth for quite a bit, and it's about time for me to get on up out of here. But of course, before we get up out of here, I do have to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and let your voices be heard, man. So go ahead and hit me up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. There's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also email us here at feedback@thespannreport.com. That's feedback@thespannreport.com. Go ahead, leave us those emails. Those emails will get replied to and read and replied to here live as well. Follow me on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, leave us a 5-star review. 5 stars, because those are the ones that get read. 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really appreciate everybody who goes about the business of doing that. Does not cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time. Let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, man, let us know that you're watching us on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Thumbs up. You know what I'm saying? Leave us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Subscribe over there on YouTube, man, because we do this on YouTube live. We do this on Facebook live. We do this on Twitter live. But if you're watching us on YouTube, man, leave us those comments, leave us those thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate everybody who does that. And for those of you who want to give us some money, because we like money, you can hit us up at our website at www.thespannreport.com. You can donate to the show as often as you like, as much as you like. And of course, we really do appreciate every dime over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. And also, man, you can buy yourself some merch, man. Get yourself a t-shirt. Get yourself a hoodie, man. It's still kind of cold outside. Get that hoodie, man. Get that mouse pad, man. Get that coffee mug. That coffee gonna taste so much more delicious. Delicious. In a Mr. Spann Official Podcast. I'm doing too much here, man. I'm doing too much. But yeah, man. I see we got one more. Let's see. Social media has given the idiots a voice to say crap they would never say in person. And not only that, it has also given people the people that we used to ignore, the conspiracy theorists, the wackos, the weirdos. We used to like mock them and like pay no attention to them at all. What social media and what the internet has done has allowed for those motherfuckers to get together and amplify their voices. And now they're getting elected to Congress. But I hear you, Horatio. I appreciate you commenting at the last minute, man. We get ready to get the fuck up out of here, man. We get ready to get the fuck up out of here. But yo, man, yeah, I appreciate you guys for checking in, and I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam, peace. Oh shit, you were supposed to do this.